I know that there's other people out there. So I think that more small businesses find the value. And here's the thing, Google My Business is free,
It's free. I was
99.
about to say that.
Free 99.
It's free.
Hey, Hustle Free fam. Welcome back to another episode of the Hustle Free Entrepreneur, where we talk all things systems, strategy, and sanity saving business tips to help you build something sustainable and strong. Today, we're going to be diving into the glamorous but gritty world of event production and venue ownership. If you've ever dreamed of running a space that hosts unforgettable events, or you're trying to figure out how to market your venue in a way that books clients without burning out, then this episode is for you. I'm joined by Bonnie with Be Social Event Venue, and she's a powerhouse in the event space. And it's been great watching her journey. So today we're going to have a transparent conversation about lessons learned as an event venue and the direction that she's personally going on that I think will be super helpful for those of you that are looking. So today we're going to have conversations about why it's important to have standout experiences, things to learn about marketing your venue or just your event space. So grab your pen, your planner, or your project management app because this episode is full of gems that you'll want to make sure you're taking notes on today. So let's jump into the conversation. Thank you for being a guest today, Bonnie.
Thank you for having me. I'm
So
excited to be here.
for before we jump into this, one of the things I always like to kind of start out with is like a hot topic conversation. And I feel that what would be a perfect jump into this, where some people are thinking, when you started your event venue, did you already have everything figured out?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Still figuring it out as I'm going along, as I'm now in it. So no.
And that's the thing is that I think is beautiful about even your journey and your process is that sometimes with we get into these spaces, it's okay to not have it all figured out because let's be honest, as someone who's been in the industry for 15 years, there's things that are constantly changing. I mean, just the industry itself, when the pandemic happened, like I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like we've had a moment where things have been normal.
Mm-hmm.
We've been pivoting. So, how long have you had your venue?
So my grand opening was November 2023. So it's been about a year and a half. I mark my grand opening as my date of starting the business. I've been researching and doing behind the scenes work way before then, but my grand opening was November 2023. So it's been about a year and a half.
That's awesome. I mean, it's great. And even though you may have had learning lessons through the process, like
Hmm.
some people I know that got into venue spaces, they didn't even make it to the 1 year mark.
Mm,
So, congratulations.
thank
I
you.
mean, I mean, to be honest, I know some people that I worked with
Hmm.
that didn't even make it to a 6 month mark
Wow.
because of not understanding where they purchased their venue, the needs and demands,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So they didn't even make it to the 1 year mark. So you already have beat some of the statistics that are out there, and you're only 6 months
Odds.
away from the second benchmark, which is the 2 year mark.
Yes.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's interesting that you said that. I didn't even know
Oh,
that existed of people not even lasting 6 months. But yes, I did a lot of research and tried to learn as much as I could before opening my doors. And yeah, so I appreciate that. And hopefully we will continue to grow and stay in business for a long time. That's the goal.
yeah, no, and the thing is that from what I know of you, you're always a constant learner. And I
Yes,
think
I am.
sometimes that can be half the battle for entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
When we stand in the space of I already know it all or I figured it all, like that's automatically suffocating the success of any
Oh my
business.
God, my cup is never full. And honestly, it becomes a hindrance too on moving things forward and and growing in a sense because I'm always trying to learn. I learn from every event. I learn something from every event, every interaction
Mhm.
with the client, you know,
Mhm.
and just trying to keep up with trends and what's new,
Yeah.
what's happening, all of those things. Like I am constantly learning and always pivoting, always changing, always adding something, taking away. It just, it just doesn't
Yeah.
stop.
But that is a valuable lesson, especially in the beginning years, because sometimes I can even speak to my own experience. When I first started, what I thought my business was going to look like, if I would have just held on to just only that vision, I wouldn't be doing it still. There's
Yeah,
no way.
yeah.
So I think that it's important to allow for every great thing that's happening to evaluate why. And then when something bad or something that's not desirable happens, it's also important for us to look at why,
Hmm.
and not from, let's say, not from a victim standpoint. It's like, okay, how can I help with avoiding this in the future? So that, or how do I improve this in the future? I think that
Hmm.
is always just this learning lesson.
Yes, always. That is true.
So tell us a little bit about your venue and what inspired you to open it.
Okay, so my venue is Be Social Event Space in Portchester, New York. It's a small town in Westchester County, um, and it's an intimate venue. So the maximum capacity is 100 guests seated for a seated sit-down style dinner. I always recommend like a good number to have is about 75, 80 guests maximum for like if you want dinner, dancing, you know, all of those things. How I got started was about, let me see, my daughter's 29. 13 years ago, I was planning my daughter's Sweet 16
Oh,
party. And yep, couldn't find an intimate venue um, that that fit my vision of what I wanted to have for her. It was either you know, a restaurant that had a private room. It was either your community room or like Knights of Columbus lodge type of space that needed a lot of work, or it was your big banquet hall, your hotel that had a room or something that was like expensive. So it was either too big, too small, not enough personality. You know, it just wasn't the right fit.
yeah.
And it just stayed in my mind. It stayed in my mind that this is what I feel was needed in my area, my community.
Mm-hmm.
And when I retired from Verizon, I was working for Verizon after 30 years. Actually, prior to retirement, working up to retirement, when I knew I was going to retire, I should say,
Okay.
that's when I started, you know, thinking like, okay, I know I'm going to retire. What am I going to do? Because I'm still young enough to do something else. And I know I've always had an entrepreneur spirit, by the way.
Awesome.
I did. So, I knew I didn't want to go back into working for anyone. So I started my research then to see how this would work. After
Mm.
retiring, I found a building, and that kind of fit the vision that I had. I wanted brick walls, I wanted floor to ceiling windows, and I came upon a space and
It's stunning, by the way.
thank you.
It's
Thank you
stunning.
very much. It's by the waterfront. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't have waterfront views from inside the space, but it's literally steps away. Like if once you leave outside, it's like right there. So it's beautiful and I love it. And from the reaction that I'm getting, other people love it too. And I'm
Mhm.
just happy to be like a part of someone's special moments. Like I live vicariously through other events and I have a good time with it.
That's awesome. And what I love about just your share
Uh-huh.
is you noticed that there was a need in
Uh-huh.
the area. I
Yeah.
think that that is something that sometimes I find people don't do that research in
Mm.
their space
Uh-huh.
of understanding, like, why do people come to spaces? Like, what are some of the things that are, what are some of the, where are some of the gaps, like market research? Like
Uh-huh.
I was recently at, I volunteer at the Entrepreneur Center in my area, And I had
Mhm.
some people that came up and was like, I'm thinking about doing a venue. And I was like, okay, a venue. And like everything they were saying was very elusive. And I was like, okay, I feel like you really need to do research on, like, because I love having venues. I think that there's a lot of areas that still need venues, but you have to understand what kind of venue is missing there,
Yeah.
so that you're filling in a gap. So
Hmm.
understanding like you chose a perfect number for most social events, they're going to be anywhere between 50 to 100 people,
Right. Right.
you know,
Um,
and that's where that gap was, because for those bigger ones, then it may make sense for a hotel or, you know, one of those big hall
right.
type of spaces.
Right.
So like taking the time to research and finding that space and understanding, I want to have a space where people can host, you know, intimate gatherings because we don't have a need. And so she picked this amazing space
Hmm.
that honestly can be transformed into anything that's strategically placed in a nice neighborhood, and or just, I want to say nice, it's in a neighborhood that has that need where you have parking and like all of those things have to go into a factor,
Yeah.
which is great that you did that research and you were able to choose a place, that reflected where you saw that there was a gap in your community.
Yeah. Because there are honestly, in my county, there are other venues, but um, you mentioned neighborhood is a thing.
Hmm.
Location is very important for a venue, number one. And I found that there were, again, the other venues that are in the area and you know, the nearby area, um, they lacked a little bit of personality to me, not, and everyone's preference is different. Like some people
Yes.
like the white box, you know,
Yeah.
and that's fine, but I was looking for something that was a little more industrial, lofty, you know,
Hmm.
it had its own character and personality where you don't need to do much to it, uh,
Yeah.
if you don't want to. So I, it was just part of my research. Like what's already, I looked at what was already out there,
Hmm.
what's missing, and how can I add this value to other people's lives, you know, for their celebrations. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and I love that what you said, like it was industrial. Like there's always going to be competition. Like
Yes.
in apartments, you know, because that's in the vein that I work in or service,
Hmm.
you can have three apartment buildings all in the same area, but they all have different aesthetics.
Yes.
And so, like, even with venues, it doesn't have to be like there's just no venues at all, because that might also just say that people there don't host events. So
Right.
don't like find a city that's like in the country, you know, and people are don't do those. They do barns or you
Right.
know those types of things, you know. So be present to it.
Yes.
But it's important to understand like what is in the market and
Hmm.
where you can potentially have something that looks different that's existing in that market, because
Right.
like some people want sterile because they want to bring in a whole production, where some
Hmm.
people want personality and
Hmm.
they want a romantic feeling and those different things like that, where it don't require the whole production. So that is valuable for anyone that has a venue or
Hmm.
they're thinking about getting a venue. I think that those are the things to consider, when you're going into the space.
Yeah.
So
And
I will go
how will
ahead.
you stand out in the market? Like what's different about your space or
Mhm.
your venue or your business, whatever it is? Like you said, there's three buildings, but what's different about yours? You know,
Yeah.
what's unique about yours? And that's what I was looking for, like a little bit of what makes me different or stand out from others.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. So for you, I would love for you to share, what does a typical week look like as a venue owner?
Oh gosh. It's a lot. So it's not
Mhm.
what I kind of thought um in the beginning of opening a venue was I get a space and, you know, have it rented for different events on the weekends. A typical work week being a venue owner is there's a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of administration, emails, calls, phone calls, follow-up calls, tours, like allowing people to come visit the space to, you know, so they can create their vision or see if they like, if it suits them.
Hmm.
There's a lot of marketing takes up a lot of time. Social media, figuring out what works, how to um, get people eyes on my venue. Um, it's a honestly, it's when they say have owning your own business is a 24-hour job.
It is literally,
It
quite
doesn't shut off.
literally.
It's not like I get up in the morning and I open a computer at 9 o'clock and then I'm done at 5. No.
Mm-mm.
Um, it's constant because even when I close the computer, um, my mind is just always on the next thing or what I didn't do or what I have to do next or what I need to complete. And um, it's quite busy. It's quite busy.
Yes, and it's funny because even during the pandemic, and I was seeing all these people like going on these trips and all this stuff, and I was just like, uh, no, we're working. Like it's like it's and I think that it's important for business owners to know, especially when you're first joining entrepreneurship. Like it can be rewarding, but it
Yes.
does require a lot of work. Um it requires the time and the dedication for
Yes.
you to put into it so that you can have the success that
Yes.
you're desiring.
It's a lot of time.
Hmm.
A lot of time. I mean, we even touched on before, always learning, like even that's a part of it, a business work week.
Hmm.
Meetings and then connecting with people, networking and all of those things are a part of being a business owner. It's a lot.
It is. One of the things
That's
that I
okay.
realized I want to start doing,
Hmm.
which I was doing, oh my gosh. Um, I didn't up until 2018. So that's when I came down south to take care of my mom.
Hmm.
I didn't even own a TV for the first 9 years of my business.
Hmm.
I didn't because if I had downtime, I was going to either be sleeping, doing something fitness wise, doing something that was going to relax me, or I was working or like having fun. Like I would still have fun.
Hmm.
But like one of the things I realized I want to get back into is reading more.
Hmm.
Because what I
Me
find
too.
is that I'm allowing myself to get into the habit that I really don't like is just sitting on the couch, letting hours go by watching TV.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be so wrapped up in other people, like the reality shows and like, yes, you need
Other
something
people's
to do.
lives.
Yeah, like, and I'm like, I don't care really, but
Yep.
I'm doing it because I'm avoiding, whatever I'm avoiding, like if like I really told myself today, actually, I was like, I want to get back into the habit of reading. Like I love reading.
Hmm.
And so I think it's important for us as business owners to kind of like think to ourselves, like, how is it that I still make the time
Hmm.
to do intentional work? Because
Yeah.
what happens is that if we don't set a structure or a schedule, is
Yeah.
that we'll have these super long days, but they're not as productive
Right.
because of the lack of attention or intention or knowing what you should be giving attention to,
Yeah.
which is something that is probably one of the biggest lessons I feel like self management. That's what
Yes.
self management is probably one of the biggest lessons that you can learn in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, yeah. So, it, it's interesting that you brought that up because that is something that I do struggle with being a new business owner, entrepreneur, um, is juggling all of life's
Hmm.
moments. Again, this takes a lot of hours. I do enjoy reading as well, and I do want to get back to that. And then another thing just scrolling on social media to disconnect a little bit, a few minutes from if what starts out as a few minutes ends up into
An hour.
an hour or more of just wasted time.
Yeah.
And that's not intentional self time. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's just kind of filling up space. But I do struggle with that being a business owner now.
Hmm.
It is balancing life's quality moments and being intentional and present in my family's life.
Hmm.
And I'm really trying to get to a place where that balance happens. So
Are are you open to a suggestion?
I am.
Okay, so one of the things that I like to do, when I was really on it, what I like to do is set timers.
Mm,
And so even on my cell phone, when it comes to social media, I have the app limits
mm-hmm,
on that. But then
mm-hmm.
also, if I know that I need to do engagement on platforms, I'll set my timer for 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. Okay. I like
So
that.
I know that I need, the reason why I came on here is to engage. I need to, if it's to decompress, then allow myself to decompress, whatever the reason is,
Mm-hmm.
but use timers.
Yes.
And at first, I would start with 15 minutes because then I don't have to make it like into this, like, oh my gosh, it's going to take hours. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm like, if I can commit to doing 15 minutes of engagement on social media in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
the middle of the day, and in the evening, that is 45 minutes of actual focused energy
Mm-hmm.
on doing whatever I say. So that's something that can be great for those that may be listening right now, as well. That if you're like, I have a hard time with managing like time,
Mm-hmm.
use timers. Like even with cleaning my apartment, I'll set my alarm clock for 15 minutes, do what I can, and you'll be surprised what you can get done with
Mm-hmm.
knowing that I only have 15 minutes.
Right.
So if you give it open ended, then yes, it will just go and go and go. So even when I read, I'll set my alarm for 30 minutes.
That's perfect. I like that idea. I will consider that and put that into action. Timers. I do have timers like I set timers for when I'm answering emails
Hmm.
and things like that. Again, in everything in the business is timed, but nothing,
Yeah. And personal.
personal.
Yeah.
No, no. And I do like that. Mm-hmm.
Yes, take it. I tell people like that's
That's it.
when I stop, because what happens in personal or in business is we overestimate how much time it's going to take. So then we prolong it or put it off and put it off,
Mm-hmm.
as an avoidance, or we underestimate how much time it will take to do
Right.
certain things.
Right.
So using timers will help you with being able to regulate what's the real amount of time it will take.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it just adapts. Like years ago, I used to be able to go to the gym for an hour and a half. I don't have that time allotted in my schedule anymore because I'm balancing this and
Mm-hmm.
then also my event business.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'm babysitting my little cousins. So, like, in order to give myself grace, I have to adapt what my schedule really looks like.
Right.
Um, and so it's a learning lesson. So it's always just going day to day. So I hope that this was helpful for you, but I'm sure that some people listening to can benefit from that
No,
as
very
well.
much so. And I do need a timer on social media because I mean, that's a big, again, as you and I are using it as business owners and other people use it, we're using it for a specific reason.
Hmm.
What I am guilty of the scroll too long,
Yes.
way too long.
Yes, I
So,
check myself on it. Like if I feel as if something's not moving my business, I really try to be accountable to sit there and think to myself,
yeah,
like, what did I actually do that was income producing?
right,
What did
right.
I actually do that was income producing? And for those that might be listening that don't know the difference, because you can be busy and just be doing things,
Hmm.
or there are things that need to get done. So, like from an event planner standpoint, I need to be following up with vendors. I need to be sending out booking sheets. I need to call clients and things like that. But that's maintaining what I already have. So
Hmm.
if I'm only maintaining what I already have, what happens when those things are done?
Right.
If I never make the time to do things that actually produce income, which might be doing sales calls, which
That's a
might
good point.
be, following up with inquiries or doing intentional email marketing to people that did reach out. Like those are things that can potentially bring in income because
Right.
once you have it, that's great. But what are you going to do that, to bring it, to continue to bring them in? So
Right. Right.
like checking yourself. Hmm?
That's no, I'm saying I'm agreeing with you. You're absolutely right. Hmm.
Yeah, because that's something that like I literally today I had like this aha moment for myself in general. Like this is what I'm going to need to be doing. This is what I need to be tracking. as far as like what am I actually doing daily. Like as much as I want to spend time, creating content on certain things, that's great and it can potentially produce income, but what about the actual things
Right.
will produce income? Why aren't you making time to do those
To do
things?
those
Like
things. Correct.
like do
Exactly.
those, and then the extra time create the content, do
Yeah.
those things that will produce results.
Mhm.
So I would love for you to share, and I appreciate your transparency in all of this,
Mhm.
is what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned thus far since opening your doors? You already know HoneyBook can make your life easier. However, you may be in a position where you know that you're not using the automations or any of the really cool features to the fullest of its capacity. Let's be real, learning how to set up a CRM can feel challenging. So if you're tired of DIYing your CRM so that you can actually start to convert clients and feel the ease from using this platform, it's time for you to check out my done for you services so that you can get access to workflows, templates, and automations. My done for you services are intended to make your event business thrive. So let's take the headache out of the process and get started together, because you deserve to be able to focus on what you want to focus on, which is your business, which is to make money inside of your company. So are you ready to have a system that's working for you? If so, click in the description so that you can set up a free consultation with me today.
There's so many lessons. Learning how to say no
Mm,
is a big one for me because I'm such a giving person. Um, I like to give a lot of thing, give away a lot,
mm,
and that's not income producing,
mhm,
income generating for me, giving away the business. So that's a big one. And learning how to say no, in a way that's not, harsh or disrespectful or rude. Like it's okay to say no and stick to, what I'm offering.
mhm,
Um, Also, another lesson is to stick to your policies and procedures because, they're written for a reason and they're in place for a reason. And
mm,
I have to protect my business. Um, Another lesson is, I think everyone, what I have now done, I mentioned to you before, is that I now have a mentor, and a coach. I think that's something that I should have started with in the beginning,
mm.
is getting a mentor or a coach, someone who has experience in what I'm doing, who can, um, lead me, direct me, and teach me on things when needed. Um, that's a big one for me. Um, I'm trying to think. There's so many lessons I
But
learned.
I think all of those are great lessons, because like those are lessons that if you're not present to,
Hmm.
they just prolong themselves. Like someone else that I had on some previous episodes, who's a venue owner, that she actually shared some of the same ones. And the big one is the people pleasing, and having to adhere to your own rules in your contract.
Yeah.
And she's like, because she had an event that was held, I don't know, at this point it's been months and months.
Hmm.
And when I interviewed her, I was like, I remember seeing someone do like a baby shower, and they had hay barrels all and hay all on the floor. And I immediately, when I saw the post, I mean, it looked cool. I was just like, I don't, I, I'm like, I hope she charged them for the security fee to clean that
The
up.
cleaning fee.
The
Yeah.
cleaning fee, I'm like, and so like that's the thing, is that sometimes could be the hardest lesson for entrepreneurs is sticking by your word, but then like your contracts, but most importantly, doing it in a way
Yeah.
that can be received well. Like all conflict doesn't have to be negative. It
Right.
all comes down to how we initiate it,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then how we use. like our contracts and our communication to protect ourselves and our businesses, because you can't
Absolutely.
go back and say, um, there's not this cleaning fee because now you had to pay someone to professionally come and suck up hay and particles off your floor.
Wow.
Like it needs to, like, those are the things like where I tell, even when I talk to venues, I'm like, have your rules about what you are okay with when it comes to
Yeah.
hanging things,
Yeah.
to glitter, to
Absolutely.
fire.
Yeah. And b- to piggyback off of what you're saying about someone bringing in hay, like something else that I've learned to do in this business is ask a lot of questions. Like, make sure I understand what type of event you're planning on having, who your vendors are coming into the space,
Hmm.
just all of these things, because there can be no surprises the day of, and I'm
Hmm.
like, and then I'm stuck, and then I'm the bad guy because I have to again enforce rules and procedures and say no to things. It's like then they're not happy, and
Yes.
it's just it's those fine lines of making sure that someone is happy but also respecting your boundaries.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
agree. I
Hmm.
agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And for your venue, do you do any production in house? Because I always see that you have like the tables, the nice linens, like it's well decorated. Do you have partnerships with vendors that help you with executing some of these events, or is it all based on the client bringing in vendors?
I have small things that I offer as far as production wise, like the essentials so far. Like I understand like people need linens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do offer linens. I do offer the chafing servers for if people are bringing in food. They I don't have a kitchen, so there's no prepping or there's no appliances of keeping anything warm in the venue.
Hmm.
So I understand you need warmers to keep your food warm, utensils for that, and uplighting to enhance your event. There's little things um, that I do offer, but most of the time it's on the client to bring in their own decorator, their own caterer, their own DJ, whatever. I do have a preferred vendors list that I work with some vendors that
Hmm.
I do recommend to clients that have been in the space. I love their work, and I know that they execute well. I trust them. Bartenders as well. But yeah, I allow the client to do it their way. And then I just give a little bit of, I assist with as much as I can, as much as they want me to. I give recommendations and yeah,
And solutions for them.
and
And
solutions.
And so, since some of them can be vendors that are from your preferred vendor list, as well as some that the client is bringing in,
Yeah.
how do you manage the event production part of like the site visits, the communication of like access to spaces? How do you personally, or the lessons you've learned when it comes to doing that in your space?
So, one of the things when people come in to do tours, I am very clear on, what can be done, how I work with you, how I can work with you, how I can work with your vendors, let me know. I also have detailed information in the contracts, what's allowed, what's not allowed, and I also allow them to do planning walkthrough sessions like before their event, that I meet with their planners or I meet, whoever's doing the planning. And we kind of just work hand in hand together on that. Did I answer that question?
Yes, you did. You did. And so, like, from what I hear, you do have a hands-on approach when it
Yes.
comes to people using your space. And to me, that helps with separating yourself from just a venue
Hmm.
to like a space where actual memorable events. Like some people literally just kind of like a peer space kind of vibe. Like, oh,
Hmm.
you book it for a couple hours? Great. See you the day of.
Go for it.
And here's the thing, if that's what you do, no shade, but
No,
also
yeah.
understand
Yeah.
that sometimes by doing it that way, you might be missing out on opportunities.
Yeah.
And also, you have the ability to filter through some of the people that are going to be using your space.
Yeah.
Like I've spoken to people that have a very hands-off approach, and I'm like, you just never know, what's going to happen in your space. But with a hands-on approach, it does, I guess, help with you too, understanding what's going to be happening in your space. Is
Yeah.
that an accurate
Yep, that's
assumption?
totally accurate. And I also I also have a venue attendant on site during every event. Like I'm never leaving my space unattended. I do know that there are venues that do that. Like you said, like they open the doors and they let people come in and have free range. I want you to have free range. I want you to make it feel like home. Like use it as if it's your home space.
Mhm.
Um, but the extra level of customer service
Yes.
that I provide of having, and sometimes it's myself because like again, I'm still new, I'm still in the hiring process and doing this and that, but I do have an assistant that will come in if I'm not available to be at the event. I have an attendant that's on site that's going to make sure like the venue is clean when you get there. The tables and chairs are set up when you get there. If you do linens with us, the linens are already placed out for you in your preferred layout. We take care of trash. We make sure that the venue is like maintained throughout your event so that you and your guests can be comfortable. And that's like one less thing you have to worry about, while you're having a good time. Um,
Yes.
I provide that for my guests, and it's been working for me. So,
But I think it's too because of when I think of your space, I think of it as an elevated space.
hmm
Um, and the thing is that when you present an elevated space or an elevated product, it
hmm
does give you some wiggle room to have better pricing,
hmm
even if you're in a space of figuring out what better pricing looks like for you.
yeah, still doing
But
that.
it does allow for you to have a premium feel to it compared to someone that doesn't do that kind of stuff. So how do you personally, I guess, envision your space as a business?
So, my vision was I love weddings.
Mhm,
So I do want to be the one of the go-to wedding and event venues,
mhm,
because I just love, right? I love the energy of love in the room and people celebrating that occasion, that
mhm.
time of life. Um, so that's where I'm moving towards. We get a lot of baby showers, a lot of birthday parties, and I love those too. Any type of celebration I love, honestly. But
Mhm.
I do envision myself being in more of a wedding event venue.
Great.
hmm
So then I guess then probably down the road, then as far as like venue, like vendors, that might even shift some of like possibly bringing some stuff in-house. Not you doing it,
hmm
but like if you're going into the wedding space, would you still kind of keep the same principle of people bringing in individuals, or would you possibly want to look into doing white labeling?
I would like to still offer both.
Okay.
But probably eventually, if I have a specific in-house team that can do it all, maybe offering a
Mhm,
package deal, like package it together where we do everything for you. All you have to do is kind of just show up.
mhm.
That would be ideal. But I do want to allow couples to do things your way. There may be a specific ethnic background that maybe
Yes.
I, me and my team are not so familiar with. I mean, as a event professional, I should be able to offer offer the service to anyone coming in, yes. But, it just maybe somebody may want something specific that I may not be able to handle or don't have knowledge of, and I will allow them to do it their way. Because at the end of the day, that's what I want you to do. Have
Yeah.
your event done your way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes a ton of sense because like there's so many different cultures and
Yes.
backgrounds and we just won't always know how to execute it.
Right.
From an outside standpoint, like I mentioned, I feel like you do have an elevated space,
hmm
and you have some great events that are hosted there,
hmm
by how you market your business. Like, what type of advice would you give to other venue owners who are trying to create more elevated experiences inside of their space, because I feel like this has been intentional. Like, it's not everyone is doing elevated in your space, but
Hmm.
I feel like you're intentionally marketing to attract people that want elevated experiences. So what advice would you give to someone that's like, I really want to shift how I am being perceived in the marketplace?
So I'm not a super expert on that. It's just by kind of like by default, I guess people feel that same energy that you are describing, that yeah, this is an elevated event space.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of just comes naturally. I do get all types of events. But I think you just have to be intentional about how you market, things that you say in your marketing, and who you market to. Like, just really being intentional about your wording and your pricing. I don't know. That's I think that's it.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. I mean, because I think that in the event industry, we can sometimes make a lot of assumptions about what we're putting out there. I remember during the pandemic, I saw a lot of chefs I was connected to or caterers that consider themselves like luxury chefs, but everyone was showing lobster mac and cheese.
And
And then,
um,
and then,
what is it called?
huh?
The salmon Alfredo.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'll see them on their stories saying, people don't respect my price. I'm like, nothing about lobster mac and cheese or
We can
salmon
get that at Whole
Alfredo
Foods now.
is translating that I need to be charging you charging me $200. I'm like, so what we think is communicating is not. I'm like, because if you're getting someone that if you're wanting these individuals are going to pay premium pricing, you have to know what are the things that they actually are going to value when it
Hmm.
comes to marketing.
Hmm.
And like from what I said, like you're most of the content you're showing is like well decorated rooms and
Hmm.
spaces, people enjoying themselves, people having full on productions inside of your space. Like I know I've been grateful and blessed to be able to interact with some really awesome venue spaces where, you know, if I had to be transparent, a lot of everyone's trying to still figure it out. But they are still figuring out and moving it forward.
Hmm.
But they're trying to get out of, or they have gotten out of, for some of them, that space of this is just a space. Like they're wanting it to be that we're one of the best at what we do, and
And
we're
that's,
creating these elevated experiences because of how they're marketing. And you know, you shared a little bit about how you're intentional about that.
yeah.
um, with that, like what would you say, as like if you can even explain that, what would
Hmm.
you say is your current marketing strategy or something that you're intentionally trying to be present to when you're trying to market your business?
Um, my current market strategy. Hey, I don't really have one, Jesse.
That's fine.
I have been using Instagram and, like you
Mhm,
said, just displaying um, the types of events that I want to happen here.
mhm,
So what I do post is intentional, right? Because yes, I do want to display the type of events, elevated events that I want to have. I mean, I want it to even go be more elevated than it is, but
mhm,
I'm on. So I'm learning how to do LinkedIn so that I can be intentional about finding corporate events
mhm.
as well to also fill up the space during the week.
Yeah.
So that's a new marketing tool that I'm going to tap into.
Mhm. Which
And
I think is a great idea for you too.
yeah, I've been
Mhm,
told that keep people keep asking me, "Are you on LinkedIn?" I'm like, "No." When I signed into it, I was like, I had a LinkedIn page back when I was doing real estate investing, so and I haven't looked
mhm,
at it in like since pre-COVID.
mhm.
Just being intentional about what I put out there, and
Mhm.
that's pretty much it.
Okay. No,
Mhm.
I'm glad that you're exploring that. I mean, to be very honest, LinkedIn has totally shifted since the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So they are a lot more active.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a place that you would go to when you're looking for jobs only.
Right.
You really do have decision makers, like for someone like myself that specifically works with corporations, with what I do on events.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that on Instagram, the only people that are actually on Instagram are the gatekeepers
Mm,
of what I do, or they're using it as social proof. So, like, if I'm meeting them or they got a referral for my services, they're going onto the Instagram just to look. Are they going to look for my service on Instagram?
mm-hmm.
Heck no. So it's like understanding your client based off of that. So, like for those of you that may be listening that are wanting to do corporate, um, and there's different levels of corporate. Like I'm talking about, like the big corporations. Often for those individuals, if they're on, social media or like if they're on Instagram, the thought of searching through hashtags for someone in corporate that has a small window of time,
Mm-hmm.
it's not natural for us. Like, and the thing is too, is like for someone like myself that's also often sourcing for people to help with executing my events, I realize most people don't even say where they are or they're using random hashtags, hashtag catering. How am I going to find you?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so if I have only a limited amount of time, I first start on Google
Yeah.
and then I might transition to Facebook, then I go to Instagram, but it's understanding like who you're trying to target. So
Right.
like with some corporate clients, it's really great for LinkedIn and it's also great for doing intentional like old fashioned like word of mouth. So
Mm-hmm.
like going to your chamber of commerce,
Yes.
going to those meetings and making sure people know because I love social media and the thought of anyone can see your stuff, but I'm like, what are we doing so that people that are actually local to us
Mm-hmm.
can actually find us
Right.
and utilize our services? So I think that your space for corporate, especially as a lot of them are going to start thinking about holiday party stuff in the next month or two,
Yes. Yeah. So I gotta get in front of
and
those people.
100%. So
Yeah.
it's like knowing that um, for those people, like they're going to be looking for spaces, and you want it to be that if they're doing a holiday party and they want to do something that's elevated and it's not in the lobby of their, building,
Mm-hmm.
that and they want to do something that's not necessarily going to be in a hotel, uh, like
Yeah.
you're a very valid option
Yeah.
for people in your area. So I think that you it's a great idea. I
And
think that it'd be
also,
a great
there's a
idea.
lot of so during COVID, that a lot of corporate offices closed down because they
Hmm.
found they figured out that they didn't need to pay for this space to do business. They
Hmm.
work from home. So now you need somewhere to, go have, your holiday function, or maybe like a not so much holiday function, but even like a corporate meeting,
Hmm.
or maybe a business class or
Yeah,
a night.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I agree. I
what's
agree
that?
wholeheartedly.
Hmm.
So for you, would you say that most of your leads are coming from social media, or where are most of your leads coming from?
So another thing I was thinking about as you were speaking about
Mhm.
hashtags, is I made sure that my website has the proper SEOs on it. Something I
Mhm.
learned as being a business owner, what a SEO even is.
Some people don't. For those of you that do not know, search engine optimization. That's what it
Yes.
is.
And there's certain words that you use to kind of help push you to the top of the list when people are doing Google search. So
Hmm.
yes, people find me. Most people find me. I always ask them when they come in, or I have on my inquiry form, how did you hear about the venue? And a lot of people say Google.
Yay!
Yep. So they just Google event venue or event space in Westchester County, and I'm like either the first or the second or third, that depending on how exactly they search, that pops up. They find me.
And you're set up as Google My Business too, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that is so valuable. Like I had to explain to someone that had a venue space. I'm like, how do you have a venue space and you're not on Google My Business? I'm like, you probably, as an individual, don't go a day without using Google Maps.
Right.
And I said to them, I was like, Google My Business is how you find locations on Google Maps.
Yep.
Google Maps just doesn't know that McDonald's is down the street because it just has ESP. It has, it knows that because that McDonald's or that coffee shop or that hair salon, or the closest gas station near me
Yep.
is because people go onto their Google Maps or
Yep.
on this laptop and they type in something that's near them and that's how they find it. So like that is so valuable and I'm glad and to be honest, like you're the other venue person that I had on here,
Hmm.
they said that most of their leads also came from
Google. Yep.
Google
So
My
I've been
Business.
blessed. I've been blessed to not have to, I haven't had to spend a ton of money on marketing just yet. I'm on one other site that I do pay for. It's called Eventective. I don't know if we want to
Yeah, you sure.
marketing or whatever, but for people who are listening and, Eventective is another one. It's kind of like, I think, like a Yelp for business spaces, kind of like a peer space.
Oh, okay.
But Eventective is another one that pops up that my venue pops up on when they're searching. Um,
Mm,
so and I get enough leads from there and enough turnover that it pays for the cost. It's not even that expensive to be
okay.
honest, but it has paid for the cost of me putting marketing my website on that site.
Okay. See,
Yeah.
free, free knowledge drop for
Yeah.
those of you that are listeing. So
Eventective. Yeah. Hmm.
that's a really great platform. I have never heard of it. Like, there's so many really cool tech that's coming out into just the space because, to be very honest, I don't feel like there was a ton of platforms or technology out there
Hmm.
for event spaces or like the event industry as a collective.
Hmm.
Probably not until like the last 5 to 10 years.
Probably. It's so funny
Yeah.
to say that. And when you said about the other event venue owner that you spoke to and they weren't using Google, when I was doing my research for opening the business
Mm,
and I was searching for venues in my area to do a little snooping around, just like,
yeah.
just
Market research.
market research, um, I could not find many. There were very few, except like the big, like,
Hmm.
big venues, banquet hall type venues. Then I don't know why they're not using it. I don't understand. But I learned that from my mentor,
Yeah.
honestly.
But here's the thing is like, you'll be surprised how many people actually aren't on there. Like I remember I had some new clients I was working with that were in Boston
Hmm.
area or Connecticut
Hmm.
for my event business. And so I was trying to find some partners out in that area. And for the city that they were in, there, which is a suburb of Boston, and I
Hmm.
had put in caterers in that city. And it literally had like two restaurants. That's it. And I'm like, I know it was like Hartford. I'm
There's more.
sorry, it was not Boston. It was Hartford, Connecticut. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I know good and well
There's more than two restaurants.
there's more than two. One there's, and I don't even really consider restaurants caterers. So I'm like, for me to only get the list of two restaurants, I'm
Yeah.
like, all these people aren't even listing their businesses.
Yeah.
Like I had to go into Thumbtack to find a solution. And even with Thumbtack, it had like 5 or 10 people listed.
Wow.
And I'm like, but I bet they're on socials and stuff, but they're not listed correctly.
Hmm. I never
Oh,
thought about
like they
that.
probably using hashtag caterer.
Right. And
And
then
so
how many caterers? 4.5 million are coming up for that? For
yeah, exactly. So I don't waste my time on it. So it's just like I tried the SEO tools, like techniques I know for social platforms. And if I can't, I just go on and I try to do Yelp. But then even with Yelp, those are only going to be big name ones. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I know that there's other people out there.
Hmm.
So I think that more small businesses find the value. And here's the thing, Google My Business is free,
It's free. I was
99.
about to say that. You were
Free 99.
it's free.
It's
Completely
free.
free. Yep. Yep. And
And
I
I've
think
had
having a
people fight
website
me
is
on that.
important too for marketing. Um,
Hmm?
having a website is important.
Yes.
People still use that.
100%. Age brackets. Like, I think it's important to understand, again, when you understand your target market in your area and your demographic, it really truly helps with understanding how do you even market your business.
Yeah.
Like, if your space isn't a space that's trying to gear towards 16 and 21-year-olds,
Right.
like you have to know, like, where are people, like where are the people that, like, it's different if you're listening and let's say you are someone that specifically does South Asian weddings.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok makes sense, or even Instagram makes sense
Mm-hmm.
because you can go to wherever they're needing you to go to.
Mm-hmm.
But is if you know that you are a venue
Mm-hmm.
that's specifically in Newark, New Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
and you might be on the outskirts of the city, you might want to know, okay, if I'm in Newark, New Jersey, and I'm on the outskirts, what's the parking like?
Right.
Is the area that I'm in tend to be of individuals that are affluent or like middle class, upper middle class? Like you have to know those things because sometimes if you go into maybe let's say an area that might be deemed like lower class and you find this great space, people that might be middle and upper class, they're not going to feel comfortable going to rent there. So then you're going to be stuck under pricing what you do unless you have the money behind you to create this buzz where people are willing to make the risk. But I'd rather just pick a place to mix, to match the demographic I want to serve. But like certain ages of people, they still go to Facebook
Mm-hmm.
to find places. They still go to Yelp
Yeah.
to still find places, and they're definitely going to Google. Like, and I think it's
Definitely.
important to understand that, yeah, 21 and under, they might be totally all looking for everything they need in their life in TikTok and Instagram. But are they about to pay you?
Right. Right. That's the part. And you
Which
said
you,
something that really is where I am in a um what's the word I'm looking for? Um I'm at a standstill when it comes to my pricing right now.
Mhm,
Um so it's like um you want to for me when you start when I was starting out, I was trying to figure out what the right pricing would be, right?
mhm.
Um Beyond just covering the bills,
Yeah.
for me to make some profit. And it was a struggle for me because when I was doing my research, I was seeing what other venues were charging, let's say in the nearby area.
Mhm,
Um, and then to me, that was it was like kind of low, but trying to find where you fit, where you want value conscious customers, right? That's going to value your space and what you offer.
mhm.
Um, and not just somebody who's just looking to
Give a
throw
space.
right,
Yeah.
throw a party. Right. Um,
Yeah.
so it's like trying to find that balance of not looking too cheap, like
Mhm.
offering your prices for too cheap. And then where there's people who are looking at it like, what's wrong with this place? Why is it so cheap?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And
That's
here's the, and here's
a
the thing.
difficult place I'm in right now because I feel like my space, I don't want to say it's worth more, but I could
It is. I'll
market it
say it.
more. Yeah, I do. I know it could be marketed for more, but it's like, it's just that thin line of being affordable and outpricing yourself or people looking at it like, you know, why is this why is it
But
so cheap? I don't know.
here's the thing about that though, is like, um, I love how in our industry sometimes we take the time to look at what our competitors are doing, but here's the thing, a lot of times our competitor don't know what the hell they're doing. Like, let me just be
Facts.
honest. And so
Yes.
as someone who professionally is going and looking at people's businesses or just talking to people and helping to support them with that type of stuff, like, don't. Because here's the
Thank you,
thing,
Bessie.
sometimes
Thank you for
they're like
saying that.
setting up these prices on wishes and dreams and
Yeah.
hopes,
Yeah.
and not understanding like what it really takes for them to run their business,
Yeah.
how much it costs for them to even have a profitable business.
Hmm.
And I think it's important for, yeah, you want to see exactly, what might be some going rates, but just because you see their rate doesn't mean that their rate's right. Because let's say someone got into their venue, 10 years ago,
Uh-huh.
their rent is not your rent price.
No,
So like you can't even begin to compete with that because
that's
it's like,
true.
what's the point? Like, um, and it's understanding like what are your true operation costs and where your business is going. Because here's the thing, like for someone like myself, I can't compete with someone that's doing everything hands on. I don't go to my events.
Hmm.
So I need to have a cushion to pay people well, to be able to execute the events well, and then also for me to pay myself.
Right.
So, yes, I could physically go to my events, but also that's not what I desire. Like, I'd rather have a company that's making a national impact than me as an individual. But
Right.
that's how I view my brand, and that's what I started it as. So, can I compete with the person that wants to do paint and sips and they just are artists and they're just putting things together and that's their team building? No, I can't. Like my costs are not their costs. And if that's you're going to go that route, have fun.
Right.
Like sometimes when I have some of my clients are like, "Oh, I talked to this one person, they're going to do it for this." I'm like, "Take advantage of it.
Right.
I'm not doing it that price.
Right.
hit
Right.
me up hit me up when you can afford to do another, like and they
Yeah.
do,
Hmm.
and I think that we need to not look to the left and the right because you'll be surprised. Like there's some individuals that probably are even charging more, than
I hate to
that
hear that.
be- because of them having a premium service. Like there are individuals that, for you to have their venue space because it is what it is
Yeah.
and the service and, you know, the value of being in that space. Like they're not trying to um, attract a budget client. Like that's not their desire. They still want to serve their community and things like that. But I think that there's no business that's a wrong business. So, like, if anyone's listening to it, don't think that I'm saying everyone needs to have a bespoke kind of experience because you need to have a range. We need some people that just want to give venues, and
Yeah.
we need people that are doing elevated. We need people that, like, we need all of this.
Everything. Yeah.
So, I don't think
Right.
it's a right or wrong,
Hmm.
like if you're chasing volume, chase volume. Like that makes sense for you. And some people want to build businesses and have venues that can be a national brand. There are people that want to be able to have multiple locations
Hmm.
when it comes to venues. There's not a wrong or a right. It just comes down to I think it all just comes down to like what are you truly wanting to build
Yeah.
for your business and being okay with that. Like I was speaking to someone who's actually going to be on my podcast, and she's a planner in Canada,
Hmm.
and she only wants to do 6 to 10 weddings a year. That's it.
Mm.
But she's a premium experience because she's not just doing, budget weddings. She's doing full on big productions.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And that is perfectly okay. She doesn't feel the pressure. She actually says she has to turn away work
Wow. Good for her.
because of what she does. So there are going to be some people like, how can you, like how is someone making, 5 figures off of the wedding? Not the revenue, but them personally making profit
Hmm.
off of that to pay for themselves. Is because they stand on what they're doing and how they do it well
Hmm.
and the value of what they're offering. And I think that in our industry, it's great to look at what other people are doing, but I also think it's great to understand what you're solving
Hmm.
and what the person that will see that value in what you do. Um,
Absolutely.
and it's okay. And it takes navigating through that
Yeah.
and understanding that sometimes um, until the market really gets clarity on what you do,
Yeah.
it's knowing and being okay with the fact that some people just won't sign contracts
Yeah.
and being okay with that. Like sometimes that can be the scary part. You like, especially when you're trying to transition from, being that affordable brand and you're trying to have an elevated, cost.
Yep.
People are going to delay on invoices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's fine because here's the thing, I'd rather get paid well on one than
Yeah.
taking five at a lower price to
Yep.
just do the same amount of work that I have to do for that one.
Yeah. Quality over quantity.
100%.
Yep.
Especially when you gave 30 years to Verizon.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you want to build something that in this second chapter of your life is like building something that is actually sustainable for you.
Absolutely. I didn't do this just for hobby. This is not a hobby. This is something that, it grew quick and it grew quickly into a passion of
Yes.
mine. So yeah, this is for longevity
Hmm.
and legacy. It's not just
Yes.
opening an event space. It's not, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I get 100% what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So as we start to wrap up, here's one of the things I do want to know.
Yes.
You've been in it for a year and a half,
Hmm.
but what's one myth you want to bust about owning or running a venue?
One myth I want to, oh, what are the myths that are out there?
Well, I guess you kind of almost tagged on it. It's probably like the amount of time you thought it was going to take with doing a venue. Like some people think, I would say one myth I know that some people will assume is like, oh, if I just open the venue, that people just come.
That's true. That's true. That's what my mother thinks. Like, God bless her. She's 85 years old, right? And she does not understand that I am busy all the time. She wants to spend time. Now that I'm retired, she feels like, oh, we gonna hang out and have. And I'm like, I
And like, nah, I'm working.
can't. And she's like, I don't understand why you so busy. The events are only happening on the weekend. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, so that is a big one.
Yes.
Um, Also, I don't know if this is really a myth or not, but I just feel like one of the things I want to say is like looks of a venue are not everything. I feel like there's so much more to just finding a space.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's really a myth though. I don't,
It is. I think some people just find spaces. Like, yeah, like, and not think of any of the logistics of like if like but that's also almost tied to that. Like if I have a venue, people are just going to show up,
right.
but not taking the time to do any of the research. Like opening up doors of a venue don't just make people show up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not just choosing a place just to choose a place.
Yeah.
That
It's so
definitely
much
doesn't
more
just get
to it
people to
than
show up.
that.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. But I think those are the two most big ones. Like having a venue is not just on the weekend type of thing. And fun. No, I I can't wrap it up. I can't put my thoughts together. When I get off the call, I'm gonna say, that was one, but
It's
that's the
fine.
biggest one. Yeah, it's
It's
not just
fine.
a weekend thing.
No, I appreciate you. And so, what do you see coming up next for your venue space?
So I was just talking about this with my daughter. Like we were both saying, where do you see yourself in 5 years, type of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have, like, right now I'm in a building. I would love to have my own standalone venue space. That's my dream, to have like my own building,
Mm-hmm.
and have my own venue, um,
Mm.
my actual own space.
Love it.
Yeah.
So, finally, where can people find you and learn more about your space?
So I'm on Instagram it's the letter B, social event space. Um, I'm on Facebook, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
My website is Again, the letter B, socialeventspace.com. Um, and I'm in Port Chester, New York.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So this has been a very helpful conversation. I
It has
hope
been
to
for me too. And I thank you for inviting me because this was a good conversation.
I'm happy.
I was nervous.
Yes.
I was nervous because I don't like talking about myself and I don't like being on the screen, but it's okay.
It's okay. It's all
It's good
about
practice.
learning, and I appreciate, and I'm sure people that listen today love the transparency, and they were able to get something from either one of our shares, and
Yes.
understanding, with event venues, there can be some misperceptions about what it takes, and then also how to attract the clients you want to attract, why it's important to have intention in our actions inside of running our business. And if you have found this helpful, I would love to hear from you and take the time to send us. If you've loved this episode, don't forget to screenshot it, share it on Instagram, and tag us at Green Eyed Ambition. And also, you can tag Be Social Events,
Yay.
so you can make sure that she knows that you listened, and let us know what was your biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
And if you're a venue owner, I want to wish you much success,
Me
and I
too.
hope you enjoyed this episode.
Anyone, stepping out on the faith like I did and opening a business, but specifically an event venue business, yes, I do wish you all the best. And I hope what we shared was helpful in your journey as well. So thank you again, Jesse, for having me.
You're welcome.